Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to a Thronebreaker or event guide, and we're going to be going over some of the champions. It's going to be a spreadsheet, of course there is, there always is, each and every month. So you can check that out in the link in the description. It has got several tabs to it. It's got one tab going over the various different paths, like here, we're going to be talking about this a bit more. And also there's a boss breakdowns tab, which you can go and click on. There's also miss and evade counters, which is going to be helpful in certain ways. And a few other things like immunities, unstoppable, and just types of different stuff to help you out if you're interested in the link in the description. So to kick things off with 1.1 is all about your tech-based champions: Engineered Fracture, Infectious Wrath, Nanite Healing, Indomitable, and Heal or Hide. So in a nutshell, we want to be able to have heal block champions. They're going to be the things that are going to make things easier to access and quickly. There's been some interesting insights and stuff that I've used and stuff that I'm sure a lot of people have used. So for this particular one, my new favorite champion is a Mega Sentinel for this one, but you can use Peni Parker Awakened, Iron Man Infinity War with heavy tackle specials. Warlock, that's a great one, by the way, because infection, you know, you'll be able to do those heal blocking. Can't speak. Hulkbuster, that's another option. Sentinel, Mysterio, there's tons. You could even use Cap with a tech on his team for Petrify, or use Archangel as well if they're spongy enough to kind of like be suppressed on the healing that they get. On to the boss now, which is Sabretooth. Sticking with the same vein, you can use a lot of champions mentioned. If you do, well, you got to watch out for a cornered, pass the buck, and energy actuator. So it's just going to be a case that you're going to build power, then lose it very quickly. Of course, it's normally the way with it. And I would say that champions that make this easy will be either heal block to suppress the Sabretooth regeneration, or power control options. Again, it's up to you how you want to approach this one. But you look at using the likes of an Awakened Peni Parker, heal blocking and power control at the same token. Warlock, power control, and a suppressant on heal. You could use a Mega Sentinel. I've seen people use Diablo. I'm sure that people have used other champions. Archangel and Apoc are options as well. But again, it's just down to personal preference. But do bear in mind, the damaging debuffs may be a case that it actually kind of plays into some of the nodes, so be very careful with that one. 1.2 is your science-based champions to take on this. We've got Scientific Exploit, Whittled Down, Brutal Refresher. For me, well, actually not Brutal Refresher, that's part of the specific path. But the champions that I've used, there's tons to use here. So champions that are debuffers, and those are going to be Immortal Abomination, Human Torch, Cap, with Cosmic and Tech, really good option. Mr. Fantastic. Some of the newer ones, the Overseer, personally used that one, I liked it. Anti-Venom Scorpion, Quicksilver, Spiderman 2099, another personal favourite of mine to use. So again, down to personal preference who you use on this particular fight. Then on to your boss. Your boss is Silver Centurion. Silver Centurion has offensive specialty, Achilles heel, Matador, Pilfer, regeneration, kinetic transference, Hurt Locker. Yes, Kabam likes to slap on a load of things onto this particular champion. For this, lots of different suggestions depending on how you want to approach it. If you want to use Magneto, because it's a hashtag metal, hey, go at it. I used that one. I didn't really enjoy that one, to be honest, and I think if I go back, I'll use the likes of Doctor Doom, for example, especially to kind of like suppress some power, and also because Matador is going to be specific to you being able to throw special attacks once the enemy gains power themselves. I would say there's so many others. I've seen people use Gallon, Cosmic Ghost Rider. The list goes on with options to take on this particular champion. 2.1 now is all about Punishment Glutton. Punishment Glutton is your skill-based champions, and as well, this is champions that do debuffs quickly, are easily accessing those Fury passives. There's a ton of options to list off with this one. Black Widow Deadly Origin is one of my favourites. Nick Fury, again, great option. Quick access to bleed debuffs. Gwenpool, Squirrel Girl, Elsa Bloodstone, Moleman, Crossbones, kind of iffy one with that one, but there are a few ones that are kind of quick to access some debuffs, and there's probably a ton that I need to kind of add into this particular list as well that work just as well, if not, as well as some of the other ones listed right there. When it comes to your boss for this one, this is going to be a Mega Red. A Mega Red has Power Shield, Sharpened Claws, Tenacity, and Special Delivery. This is a month where I think your White Magneto is going to be really helpful with the passive parry. It's something I've mentioned a lot in my notes, in that you can access to this and it will allow you to take on the likes of tenacity. So tenacity, when inflicted with a debuff, the defender has a 75% chance to purify the effect. Hey, White Magneto can give you a pre-fight of a passive parry. This means that you're able to bypass this in some sort of way, but you can use a ton of champions. Magneto, that's Red Magneto, Nimrod, Warlock, Apoc, Iceman. I've seen other players use Ghost. I think the reason a lot of people have kind of used different champions, and in particular use Ghost, is, you know, you could do massive special attacks, but also Sharpened Claws means that slash through blocks, inflicting 5 stacks of bleed. Each bleed does 10% of attack, so you'll be hitting yourself with that one. So actually, is that on the enemy or not? Slash through blocks, inflicting... I can't remember if this is for you or for them, but it doesn't really kind of give you any say. Slashing through blocks, inflicting 5 stacks of bleed. Each bleed does 10% of attack over 3. I went and avoided this one, but I don't know if this means that you're doing it at the enemy, because if you're doing it at the enemy, it means it's going to be like kind of playing into the death field, and it's not going to be too good. But as I said, like, there's lots of different options out there. Special delivery, I think, is the one thing to notice, that you've got to be throwing special attacks more regularly, and as well make sure to get your hits in, because brute force will mean that you'll take direct damage, so you've got to keep up with the hits on the enemy with this one. But yeah, anything really works. Nimrod for me, I didn't even play this particularly well and managed to kind of, Nimrod did the business. So yeah, easy fight. Now on to 2.2. Yes, 2.2. Relentless Mutation, Healing Factor, Just a Scratch, mutant-based champions in a nutshell. For this one, tons and tons of options for this one. Jubilee, Kitty Pryde, Apoc, so many options. Prowess mutant champions kind of play into this really well, just the extent of damage they can do. I had some great fun with using Bishop for this one. I'm not saying they're the quintessential options. Obviously regen mutants are going to be helpful as well, and there's other ways that you can play into the node. It's just a case of, hey, did you know prowess help you do more special damage? It's kind of like a no-brainer. But look, again, down to personal preference, how you feel you can take this on, and what some of the best ways to take it on. When it comes to the boss, your boss for this one is going to be Jabari Panther, and this is where this White Magneto theory comes into play and can be very, very helpful. The champion has Quick Spark, Power Through the Sickness, Rush Down, and Power Creep. And the way that I kind of like, I've described this in my notes, is that with Rush Down, you have a risk of having a stun passive. If you're able to go in with the likes of Nick Fury and as well with Apoc, certain genetic code, they're going to be stun immune. So it kind of deals with that stun immune kind of like issue. But I would say as well, it's not something to worry about. My Apoc was able to deal with it quite nicely. I think I activated a White Magneto pre-fight for this one, so I passive parried, which meant that I was able to deal with the issue of still being able to kind of rotate in a way that I personally like, or having to intercept all the time and kind of trigger off cleanse, which then obviously would trigger off the likes of power up, which is the issue that I kind of possessed. I think a lot of people used Apocalypse for this one. I think this is a very straightforward fight. If you can push the champion to an SP2, it's an easier thing to avoid, but that projectile or that spear being thrown at you is equally easy to avoid on the SP1. And now on to 3.1, which is all about your Mystic-based champions with Arcane Zeal and Steady Perseverance. In a nutshell, stagger, nullify, just suppress that stun immunity passive. No, stun immunity buff, that's it. That pops up on the champion. There are loads of options, not limited to, but could be more than. Rintra, Absorbing Man, Scarlet Witch, Mangog with SP1 with Stagger, Juggernaut with heavy attacks, Doctor Doom, Hood, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Sasquatch, to name but a few. I tried Wiccan. Wiccan was okay. I'm sure there's plenty of Mystics out there that can do the job. Again, down to personal preference, how you look to stagger, nullify, and Fate Seal. But I would say quick access to suppressing that stun immunity buff is kind of important, because you can find some of the champions a bit scuffy on the route. That's why Doctor Doom, I'd say Doctor Doom, Juggernaut, and Black Widow Clairvoyant are ones that kind of like just push themselves. Anything quick access to stagger can be very helpful, but also just suppression of these buffs in general can be very, very helpful as well. When it comes to a boss, this is going to be your Danny Moonstar boss. I would say with this one, this is relative. I wish I went in with a different option to begin with for the first time I did this one. But I felt that Human Torch was my most solid option for this. But there's loads. Okay, so the first thing is that We've got Prowess makes perfect, power build up. Okay, that's fine. But Falter Mind, Dazed and Confused. In a nutshell, this champion gets Miss as part of the key mechanic of the abilities. So if you add in something extra to that one, and it's kind of like Dazed and Confused, add in the Miss side of things, you want to be able to focus on countering Miss. I used Archangel on this one, but I also wanted to test out Human Torch. Both seemed like solid options. More so with Human Torch. Now the champion gets prowess, so you might want to use the likes of Nimrod. Not saying that's a great option, it's just a case it's an iffy option. Archangel just means that you need to be making sure that you're not hitting off a well-timed block and knocking down the champion and then kind of re-triggering that one, because it will lead to the miss popping up too much and it's going to be really annoying for you. So Human Torch, miss counters are some of the best options, whether or not you're using the likes of Odin, Hercules with his SP1 with True Sense. I've seen a lot of players use different things. Shocker, Punisher 2099, Stark Enhanced Spiderman. So there's tons of different ways that players are taking on this particular fight. I personally like the idea of using Human Torch or Hercules, just because I like the easy access to the miscountering. Now on to 3.2, which has Cosmic Grit, Pumping Iron. So what are some good options for this? I gotta be honest, yeah, Hyperion. I decided to rank up Hyperion to rank 3 as a 6-star. I'm happy I did that because he absolutely destroyed it. Corvus, Odin. Well, Corvus is a bit of an iffy one because you have to, it takes a long time to build up on that one. And I would say if you don't have Suicide Masteries, it can be quite painful. So maybe not on that one. Venom, Black Bolt with Hit Monkey synergy, that's really nice. Angela, great option there. Super Skrull, Cat Marvel movie, Venom Duck, Hercules, King Groot, Hulkling, any cosmic that quick access to buffs, really are going to be some of your better options. So I'd say that's kind of like the best way to go with it. But when it comes to the boss, this again is going to be down to a personal preference as to how you want to take this on. For me, my own personal issue was going to be this Armored Assault. I tried to strip this down to what I didn't like. So what I personally, what Richard Manning doesn't like about this particular fight is right back at it when the defender is knocked down by a heavy or a special attack, they become debuff immune, and Armored Assault. While the defender has an armor up buff active, they have a 65% chance rating to become passively unblockable. In a nutshell, the champion's going to be unblockable most of the time. So you're going to be focusing more on your intercepts. So armor break champions with a white Magneto pre-fight to get that passive parry is the way that I'm kind of like approaching this particular fight. And that's what I think is the best. I did experiment with a few champions with this one. Magneto, even though it's a hashtag metal enemy, it's just not going to be good enough to kind of take it on because the champion starts off in that armored assault and you're going to be forever doing the intercepting for it. I would also say that Dr. Doom works, but would work better with a white Magneto pre-fight and the Mr. Fantastic synergy with him to get the armor break. Now, if you don't want to do that because that's 3 slots, then you can look to different options. I've seen other players use Hercules, Spiderman, Stealth Suit, Hulkling, Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider that is, and Null. I personally enjoyed Medusa, and if I was to go back into it, I would either do that Dr. Doom kind of creation of a team that I mentioned a moment ago, or I'll be doing Medusa as, I believe she's a hashtag hero champion with a white Magneto pre-fight. But again, this is just down to your personal preference of how you want to take this particular fight on. Keep the champion to an SP1. The same thing I would say for Danny Moonstar. Keep the champion to an SP1. It just makes life so much more easier to kind of like deal with the champion. And apart from that, there's nothing else that's too much of a worry. And I would say just kind of like maybe a power control option. That's what that Dr. Doom or kind of like, yeah, power control option with a white Magneto synergy, providing you got a hashtag hero you're using or a hashtag metal based champion. So Penny Parker, Infamous Doom, yeah, that might be good options as well. And there we go, that's been a video. Thank you very much for watching. Check out some other content located on screen. And I'm going to get to work on update the side quest guide because there's a lot of things that have changed in the last 24 hours. And also start work on some of the best counters for the side quest as well. So yeah, lots of work to still do. Thank you very much for the support and watching. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Much love and goodbye.